4 different doors using 4 different locks. And the great thing about this lockout is that you can pick these locks on the outside and you still can't get into the door. Uber safety. No matter where you live or where you travel, it's always nice to have a little extra security. Maybe you have some little ones in the house that you don't want to running out the door, but you have to make it so you can quickly exit when you need to. In the past, I've done videos on these guys right here, and these are fairly good for travel. When you're at home, you probably want something more beefy. According to the manufacturers, these guys can take up to 800 pounds of force. I'll be honest. If somebody wants to get into your house, given enough time and motivation, they probably will. But at least these security lock additions will slow them down, give you a chance to do 911, or take whatever measures you need to protect yourself and your family. If you're interested in these travel versions, I'll post the videos up there and put a link down below where you can get some of them. This is an unsponsored review. I paid for these kits myself with my own money, and I'm not being compensated by these manufacturers in any way. These are pretty representative of all the kind of kits that you can get. This is supposed to be a bronze color. It's more like a brown. This is a brushed nickel, and that looks pretty nice, and you could probably go with this look if you want. They are all pretty much the same. They're all the same size, and they all pretty much function the same. They have rubber pads, and I've noticed in some of the comments have issues with some of the rubber pads sticking to their paint. Put some blue painter's tape, put it on top, and that way it won't stick to the door. There's a 1/2 inch difference between these screws and these screws. You always want to go with the longer screws so that it holds this in place better. If for some reason you can't use these screws, they give you these extremely lame screws here, 3/4 of an inch. If you're going to install this thing and that's the best you can do, I'd say send it back. It's just not worth it. I'm concerned that this screw on my front door, because I have a glass pane here, you'll see it later, I might actually have to clip that off a little bit. In some of the doors, you might have a fairly big gap where this is going. This is an aluminum spacer I made out of a ruler. I use this hack all the time, but you can usually get these at any big box store for a couple bucks. Well worth it. Not only can you use it as a ruler, but you can also use it as material for all sorts of builds, especially photography equipment where you want something that has a nice black coating on it. I think I'm going to actually have to use a combination on one of my doors of this spacer and washers. For tools, the mechanical pencil. This is a center punch. I use this all the time. And this is a drill block. You're making a relatively long hole. You want to make sure that it's straight. And this drill block, post it down below in case you're interested. This is unfunded and unsponsored, but it really works well for a host of standard drill bits. Both kits say use 1/8 inch drill bit, but there may be a problem here. You can see how long this guy is. That's going to be a little short unless I push it all the way out to the end, which I might actually do, because look at the size of that. So I'm not going to be able to get all the way into the hole with this drill bit. Figured I'd just show a little bit more detail here. I took a hacksaw and cut off a piece of this ruler. I used a mechanical pencil, drew some circles, centered them, drilled them out the size of the holes. The plate gives you a better installation. Both kits come with instructions, fairly standard, and they're pretty much the same. Now it's time to go around the house and install these on all the doors. I've got 4 different situations, and I'll show you a couple key points on each one of them. Ideally, one of your doors will match some of the challenges that I have with my doors. But you can see there's a lot of play there. That's where I'm going to put the spacers and the washers in. You want it to be as close to flush with this pad on this part of the door. And punch the centers so I know where to drill. Take your time and do this right. I've pre-drilled all these holes so that when I put the drill block in, help guide me. Now I'm going to go to the 1/8 inch hole, right, the drill block in place, push it up nice and firm, and get started in each one of these here, so I've got a good bit of hole already drilled to make sure that that hole is straight. If you're on the fence about which one of these kits to get, it comes with 3 screws. This kit here comes with 4 screws. That extra screw could make a difference. There we go. Now let's see if we can close the door with those extra washers. Installation number 1 complete. To lock it, you just push it in place like this. To unlock it, you pull it out a little bit and flip it back. Bit of an update here. I blew through these stainless steel screws. The reason why is because I could only drill in so far with this drill bit, so it was kind of forcing into that last 1/4 inch, and it was a bit of a challenge. So I've done 2 things to solve this problem. A 6-inch drill bit coming tomorrow for the other doors, and I bought some 2-inch number 10 screws to replace these. I didn't want to go 3 inches because then I was concerned I'd go into the window here. I was getting a little hit on the door, it just being up just a tad too much, so I had to go in there and just skim off with a chisel and a small hammer and just kind of go in there and 1/16 of an inch off. If you've never done a chisel thing before, you come in here and you pound on the outline so that you're not ripping in anything else, and then you just get it in there, dig it in a little bit, and then just skim it off. With every one of these that I do, I come up with better ideas on how to mount these things. I've got some double-sided tape, and that's gonna hold it in place. So I'm gonna slide it in, push it down so it's nice and flush. That's right where I want it, right there. Hopefully it will stay in place with that double-sided tape. That looks like it's gonna work. Ho ho! Since this drill bit wasn't cutting it with the even shorter screws, I had to call in for reinforcements and get one of these guys. That's a 6-incher. Here's the 6-inch drill in place. Put it up and start drilling in. Hand sanitizer in each one of these holes to help slide that screw in place. 3 more to go. So you just take a paper towel and wipe off the extra sanitizer. All 4 screws are in place, raised up from the panel, so hopefully that's not a big deal. But the ultimate test is to put that door back and see how it works. Okay, here we go. That works. Now let's just push it in place. Nice tight fit. That double-sided tape really works well. 3 down, 1 more to go. This is the most challenging door of all 4. First of all, you gotta find a good place in which to put the lock. So I'm sensing about that far up from the deadbolt. But here's the challenge. You can see it doesn't go far in. That's because the width of this is more than the width of this. So I actually have to go and determine where to put this, and then I have to carve in the extra distance, which seems to be just about that much, into the frame here, so that I can put that guy in there like that. One of the fun things about any home project is you never know what you're gonna find. So all of this is drywall. So I took a box cutter and cut along here, cleaning up, and cut this piece out. And it came out in a bunch of pieces. So now this fits in here fairly well, and it's gonna work great. But I have to go in here first and seal this up, probably with some caulk, and paint that or put a piece of white something or other temporarily until I figure out a better solution. So I thought about this a bit and tried to figure out what I was going to do because that's metal. So I took some white craft foam, pretty thin stuff, probably 1/16 of an inch, put some double-sided tape on there, fit checked it, and now I'm just going to take the double-sided tape off and press it in place and then finish it off with some caulk. Nice tight fit. Not bad idea. Just going to use some quick seal gloss white. This is bathroom caulk I've used for several projects, and I'm also going to use these fingertip gloves. So I've opened it up so I can just pour a bunch in there on all sides. Every time I do a project with a bottle of something, I want to reference back to it. I'll date on here, so I'll put another strap around here referencing this door. I'll finish sealing this up, let it dry overnight, and then put the lock in place. It's the next day. I'm real happy how this all kind of went together. That's all nice and hardened up, sealed, and then the backing is going to expand and contract as you push this in this space here. Now I've got the double-sided tape, so I'm going to slide this in here. I'm going to press the door in a little bit against the outside seal so I can get the door nice and firm. Like the other door, I used a double-sided carpet tape to stick it in place. Just doing a little fit check here. Everything seems to be smooth. I'm using these really small, pathetic screws, but they're good just to keep this mount in place so we can do a fit check. I'm pretty much committed to this because I put this big hole here. So I want to make sure it's right before I drill the really long holes for the really long screws. Dun dun dun! Now, is this going to close right? Ha ha ha! Okay! So that's clear from the door, and boom, 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 it works. Now it's just a matter of drilling the bigger holes, putting the screws in place, and this job is done. The great thing about installing the same thing, in this case 4 times, is you learn every time you're doing it. And every application, like this one, is different. Originally, I was just taking and squirting hand sanitizer at the beginning of the hole, but I think it's better just to commit a small bottle, dip it in, tighten it in, get your drill, and send it home. Ah, beauty. And it just wipes off and goes away, unlike soap, which can be a little bit of a problem. All the screws are in. It's time for a final check. And I like it nice and tight. Wow. When I say rock solid, in this case, it's definitely rock solid. Then to unlock it, push on the door a little bit, because I have a tight fit. Put it in this little alcove and open the door up. Beauty. 4 installations on 4 doors. Each one had its own challenge, and hopefully one of the 4 doors is kind of what you're facing with your doors. Thumbs up and comments, always appreciated. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in home repairs, installations of gear, making and breaking things, designs of all kinds, I even do costumes, cosplay, and props. Check out my channel and please subscribe, because you never know what you're gonna see.